right, and we are here with a special Throwing Bagels Podcast episode. So glad you could join us. Kevin Mooney here with you alongside Jason Hamo. Hey, Jason.
Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
I'm great. Yourself?
I'm doing very well.
And also Chris Douglas with us too. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Kevin.
And joining us on this very special podcast, as of I'd say 3, 4, 5 days, less than a week ago, we'll put it that way. Less than a week from the time you're hearing this, he became a national champion. And he is the head coach of the SUNY Cortland football team. It's Coach Curt Fitzpatrick. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Being introduced as a national champion has a nice ring to it. I don't know if I'll ever get tired of hearing that.
Yeah, I'm sure it never gets old. It's never going to get old.
Right.
So as we're speaking, we're recording this on Monday evening. So you won the title, the Stag Bowl, 3 days ago. What has the last few days been like for you?
It's been a bit of a whirlwind, especially when you play a night game like we did on Friday night. So we got back to the hotel about 11, I would say 11:30 midnight, and it was chaos in the hotel, as you can imagine, with a football team of, we had 60 guys around dressed for the game. We bust down the whole rest of our teams. We had all 120 players in the hotel room at the same time after just winning the national title.
Wow.
And coaches and administrators and everybody that were very excited. So that was a fun night, just a a sleepless night, just high on life. And we got a long bus ride back on Saturday morning. And then it's been just the outreach from the Cortland community and everyone in the local community, Syracuse area, all the coaching fraternity from across the country. It's been fun, and fun and humbling and exciting for the future and all that stuff all wrapped into one. But it's been a very, very fun ride.
What did it mean to you and the players, and how excited were you to come back to SUNY Cortland campus as a national champion?
It was outstanding, and we got a parade. Kevin, we probably went right by your house. The buses got escorted by police and fire trucks. They met us at the exit. The buses got a police escort from the New York State line in down south of Binghamton, all the way to up 81 to the Homer exit. And we got off the Homer exit and were greeted by police and fire trucks waiting there and stopped traffic and gave us a sirens blaring parade all the way to campus. Fireworks, they had fireworks going off as the buses drove by, and then probably 200 to 300 people waiting in front of our stadium as our buses pulled up. So it was incredible. I couldn't believe it. I was tearing up going through. Just it kind of hit home just how many people cared about and were following along and cared about our success. And it was just a really cool feeling. Kind of brought it all together that we were kind of in the moment, just head down trying to win the game, but then to realize how many people were pulling for us or how much it meant to them was just a really special thing.
Goosebumps right there, man. Holy cow.
Yes. Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. It's like I didn't even go to Cortland and you gave me goosebumps.
Right? Yeah.
Coach, looking back at the Stag Bowl, right? It was basically 29 minutes of scoreless football for the most part in that first half. When you were down at the half, 7-3 at the half, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you expect? Could you have even thought about that offensive explosion from both teams in that second half the way it was?
Well, the offenses were going to get going at some point in scoring. Both teams, I think, they were averaging 60 points a game. I think we were just under 50 points a game average. So, and when you looked at the first half, it was both teams moved the ball really well. They were moving it down the field on us. We just played really good in the red zone on defense. And then our first drive, we got a couple first downs, then had a miscue. But then our second drive, we were all the way down to the 4-yard line and went for I chose to go for it on fourth down and missed it. And so, both teams were moving, and then they went down and scored, and we moved it in 2 minutes to get a field goal right before the half. So I felt it was just a matter of time. Like we were going to score back and forth, but the field goal for us right before half to cut it to a 7-3 lead and kind of break the seal of on the scoring.
Mm-hmm.
knowing that we were getting the ball first to start the third quarter. So it was kind of like a double dip. We got basically 2 possessions in a row, and then we were able to capitalize. That's what we talked in the locker room about. We get the ball first to start the second half. Let's capitalize on this drive and go in and score a touchdown and go ahead in the game, a place that's North Central is not used to being behind. And so I felt like if we could jump ahead right there, that we could have an advantage the rest of the way, knowing that we're used to playing in close games.
And speaking of going for it on fourth down, is that in Division III football in general, is that a common thing that teams more so go for it on fourth down than punt on, depending on like down and distance, obviously?
I don't know. It's certain teams, yes, certain teams, no. I know both of our teams, North Central and myself, and Cortland, their coach Brad Spencer, great coach. He's very aggressive with that sort of stuff, and so am I. So we like to go for it on fourth down. I think probably, we have 2 of the best quarterbacks in the country were out there, and 2 of the best offenses. So I feel like both teams probably had confidence that if it's fourth and manageable, that you can get it depending on the field position. So I know our team, we've been playing aggressive with fourth down conversions all year. We had a big one in the Cortica Jug game. We had a 4th and 2 with the lead in the fourth quarter, and from our own 35-yard line, somewhere like that, and we went for it and got it. I just don't like the other team to get the ball back. We've got an opportunity to score. I just like to keep it. In the second half, you saw teams go for it just because in the first half, they had a 4th and 17 in the first drive and they went for it and missed it. That one, that's probably too far for me, and you in field goal range, you probably kick that one. But if it's fourth and manageable, I think it's the analytics would say to go for it. And I think that sort of new age football, that kind of comes into it too.
So North Central scores late to make it a 38-37 game. Were you surprised at their decision to go for 2 there?
I was a little bit. I thought they would have thought they had an advantage in overtime because of how they were running the ball and how their offense was playing. They weren't stopping us either, but they were kind of easily moving through our defense at that point in the game. So I was a little shocked, but happy. I was happy that they were going to go for it because I just felt like defensively, we can make one play. We can make one play in a vacuum, but at that point, it was hard for us to make 3 or 4 stops in a row. So, yeah, I'm just glad our defense made a great, tremendous play to make that tackle.
Yeah.
Were you surprised it was a keeper? Oh, sorry, Cam. Were you surprised it was a keeper versus, they're running their tailback? Because he seemed to have been kind of busting through your line a few times. Yeah. And he was a pretty big guy.
Yeah. Yeah. It was I intentionally called a late timeout right before the snap on the first 2-point conversion. Strategy behind that being, if you call a late timeout, if they can snap the ball, then you can kind of see what they were going to try to do. And they were going to try to run a sprint out to their right, to the wide side of the field, and try to get their best receiver, number 6, D'Angelo Hardy, who was had a monster fourth quarter, trying to get him in the front pylon. But we blew that dead because of the timeout call. So you make them show their first play. And then, so I wanted to make them show their first play, and then knowing that they probably wouldn't come out of the timeout running the same exact play. So I wanted to make them go to their second 2-point play. I thought they were going to run it or at least try to throw it to the running back. I felt like that was, obviously you got to be ready for anything. And they tried to run the cue, and we were all over it.
How much of a challenge was it to play 4 out of 5 games on the road this season?
That it was a challenge. Yeah, it was a challenge. I think by the end of it, I think our guys last week were tired of being on the bus, and that's on me too. We had the option to fly. I think the first game we played on the road at Endicott out in Beverly, Massachusetts, north of Boston, and we didn't have a choice. The rule the NCAA has, if it's 500 miles or less, then you take a bus. If it's more than 500 miles, then you can charter a plane and fly. There's a lot of logistics that go into chartering a plane, a lot of stuff that makes it, different for our players. So when we, in the third round, our second away game, we played Endicott on the road, Boston won. We played home the second round against Grove City and won. third round, we went out to Alma College in Michigan, and we could have flown to that game, but I chose to bus because it was I just didn't want to make it different for the players. Like the bus is what we're used to, getting on the bus and going. Looking back on it now, having played after that 2 games in Virginia on back-to-back weeks that we bused to, it got a little long, and the guys were a little agitated, but to me, those are memories that they'll remember the rest of their lives. Being on the bus, we could kind of bond around a road warrior mentality. And the bus was familiar, and I was just, and I don't know if it's superstition or I just didn't want to change their routine. What's another hour or 2 on the bus? The kids, the players, I call them kids, but they're, they probably won't want to fly, but they don't realize what goes into flying either. You don't just show up at the airport and hop on a plane. There's a lot that goes into it. And, so, I felt like the bus was the best way to go, and it worked out. So, but yeah, it was tough. It was difficult by the end, just because the cumulative effect of being on the bus was by the fifth or the 4th away game in 5 weeks was a little tough.
And it was the same as a cross-country drive, right? It was something like over 3,800 miles combined with all those trips. So,
yes, it was. Yeah. Our SID, Fran Aaliyah, yeah, he has that all mapped out.
Yes.
I think it was like, was it 4 of the 5 longest road trips in Cortland football history were taken during this postseason or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
It worked out. I think it worked out okay.
It all worked out. Those bus miles they're like nothing now.
Yeah, it's hard to complain when you win the national championship about busing it, right?
Yeah.
You have a pretty young team for the most part. I think only about 15 seniors on the team. But you're losing a couple of big receivers in Cole Burgess and JJ Lapp. But you do have your quarterback, who's a junior, is coming back. You do have a receiver in Joiah DeVeo and Omari Kendrick coming back, in a tight end. Do you look forward to next year and think, that you might be able to put another run together, or you're not even remotely thinking? I mean, obviously it's a few days later, but
I'm very optimistic about next year. Yeah, I am. I don't, you never know if it's gonna manifest into a deep run the NCAA tournament or not. But losing the receivers will hurt us. Lapp and Burgess, those guys they're NFL prospects. I mean, they're going to be in a rookie mini camp. Somebody. So those guys are hard to replace. You don't get NFL prospects, in every year. But I think where we lose some speed and playmaking ability on the outside, I think we'll gain. Our offensive line will all be back and better. I think we'll be better in other ways. So, where one door closes, another one opens. Same thing on defense. We were relatively young. We do lose a couple seniors, but the core of those guys who played 15 games and won a national title are back on both sides of the ball. And so that experience is just hard to, you can't replicate that. So I'm excited about next year's team. We may be different and maybe a little different formula, maybe more ground and pound on offense and pick our spots in the passing game, whatever it is, we'll figure it out. But I think the foundation will be very strong. We should have about 40 seniors next year. So next year is like as we went through COVID and kind of managing the roster through COVID, next year's senior class is like 2 senior classes back to back. It's the fall of 2020 freshmen who never got to play because the season was canceled. And then the following year's freshman class who they've been traveling through the program all at the same time. So they're all seniors next year. So we got a lot of experience.
Gonna have to get on that recruiting trail.
Yeah, that's right.
And
winning the national championship helps recruiting too.
Yeah, exactly.
A little. And that was your first. You had been hired by Cortland as head coach, and we'll talk about this a little bit in a few minutes. But you get hired February of 2020. You're hired as head coach, and then bang, all heck breaks loose. I mean, what was that?
I was on campus for 3 weeks. Yep, I was on campus. I got hired in February 13th, I think, of 2020 was my first day.
Wow.
And then 3 weeks later, we all got sent home, and it was done. And then from there, it was feel like I was the Grim Reaper, just one Zoom call after another with the team, just giving them bad news after bad news. And, yeah, so it was a challenging first year, but we made it through, and here we are. So yeah.
Your quarterback, Zach Boyce, had a game 349 in the air, 132 on the ground. Is that something you expected out of him coming into the game?
I mean, we typically don't place expectations specifically on numbers, but I knew he was going to have a big game if we were going to win. The way that North Central plays run defense, our traditional running game wasn't going to be great, but I felt like we had some advantages in the passing game. So I was ready to throw it 50 times if we had to in the game, because Zach's our best player. I mean, I trust him so much. So, and on big stages ever since. So we played Cortica, our Cortica Jug game in Yankee Stadium in 2022. And Zach and I did not coach my best game, and Zach did not play his best game. And from that moment on, he and I kind of bonded over that. And that was like our rallying cry, that we were going to, handle those big games better. And we kind of did that all year long. And so I was confident going into the game that he was going to play. He wasn't going to play it like a big game. He was going to play it like it was another game, and he was going to just be able to play his best. And he definitely did. I'm so proud of him. I mean, I've gotten so many messages from people on Twitter, on, just texts from colleagues of mine that, just rave about Zach and how he played. And to do it on ESPN, that's just it's a dream come true for him, to do that and show so many people how good of a player he is. A year ago on Yes Network in Cortica, Yankee Stadium, it was hard, being an athlete on that stage. I can't imagine what Division I players go through. The kind of some of the negativity that he got from that, they kind of suck sometimes. So to see him get a redemption on this stage, an even bigger stage, much bigger stage, very, very proud of him. He was incredible.
Definitely proved some people, I guess, if you want to say prove some people wrong, you definitely proved some people wrong. But was it your intention to have him run a lot during that game, or it was just kind of see whatever unfolds during the play?
Yeah, we had some called runs for him that we made a couple explosive runs on runs that were designed for him, but a lot of that was just scrambling off of pass plays that were called, where no one was open or they got a little pressure. And he's so quick in the pocket. He's very agile, and he's got great vision. So while he's looking down the field for the receivers, he can feel the defensive line pass rush. And they tried to spy him some, but when you spy a quarterback as fast as Zach, your spy has to be able to run as fast as him. So if you try to spy him with an inside linebacker, typically that's not gonna do it. And he made them pay a couple times for that.
His Stag Bowl counterpart, Luke Lennon, was awarded the Gagliardi Trophy for D3 Player of the Year. And he's also a junior, right? So he's coming back next year. I know you may be biased in this situation, but do you think boys should have received more recognition for that award?
I think Luke Lennon deserves the award this year. I think you look at his numbers throughout the season, he was incredible. There was at one point during the year, I think he had more touchdown passes than incomplete passes. It was crazy. So I think he's a very deserving winner of the award. That's like the D3 Heisman. So, I think he deserves it. I think Zach should have been a finalist, though. He was a semifinalist, one of 20 semifinalists for the award. He was not chosen as a finalist. I thought his numbers were good enough. They do all that voting before the finals, so right. Even before the semis, I think, Zach, the last three games, our quarterfinals win against Alma, our semifinals win against Randolph Macon, and the Stag Bowl against North Central. I think Zach threw 13 touchdowns and no picks in those 3 games. So, no turnovers. If they voted afterwards, I think he probably would have won. But yeah. It is what it is. I don't want to take anything away from Luke, because I think he's an unbelievable player. So, and very deserving. We'll see what next year brings, I guess.
Coach, what did it mean to you to win the D3Football.com Coach of the Year award?
It's an honor. It's not just a me award. We have a great staff. Great guys who are fun to be around. When you're a football coach, you spend so much time with the other coaches more. Like last week, we left on Tuesday. I didn't see my kids from Tuesday until, after the game on Friday night. But the whole time I was, with the coach, you got to have a great staff, and you got to have great people that that are fun to be around, that are good guys that, and so it means a lot for me to get the award, and my name's on the award, but I definitely, I know that it's a staff award, but it's great to get recognition from people who know our game. The guys at d3football.com, they eat, sleep, and breathe Division III football, and so it's an honor to be recognized. I think, our staff works extremely hard, and just like our players do. So it's a cool honor, and obviously you can't do it without Zach Boys. Makes me look very smart sometimes too. So I also acknowledge you got to have good players. Yeah.
Random question, but we all know who Tommy DeVito is, right? Who started the hand gesture first? Is it Joe DeVeo or is it Tommy DeVito?
Probably Tommy DeVito, but Joey he's a character, great kid. He and Zach started doing that. I saw that, and they started doing that in practice and stuff like that. Probably a month, like it was a while ago. Maybe even before DeVito started for the Giants. I don't know if DeVito used to do that when he was at Syracuse.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I don't think so.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think so. That's a new thing.
It was funny, and like at the game, you see the one touchdown, and then the whole offense is doing.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Is doing the hand gesture, and then Joe comes over to the sideline, and I turn around, and he's got it, and because all of our players that aren't dressed were in this front rows of the stands, and so he's doing the gesture to them, and they're all doing it back, and then the crowd behind him, just like parents and everyone else, he had like the whole crowd, like the Pied Piper, doing his little celebration, which was, I just had to chuckle. And, in the middle of a tense game, it was good to get a laugh and seeing the kids have fun like that.
Yeah, I caught it after that. I think it was after his first touchdown. I was like, oh, okay. Like, I wonder, and that's when I popped into my head. I was like, wonder if he's been doing that all season or not.
Yeah, I think it's an ode to his Italian-American heritage, I think.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Coach, let's talk about your career a little bit here. You spent 9 seasons at SUNY Morrisville before you went to Cortland. What led you to go to Cortland?
Cortland, when Coach McNeil retired, Dan McNeil, our previous head coach at Cortland. I mean, I remember the minute I heard that news, I sent an email to Mike Ertz, our athletic director, like that morning, and I was about to head out on the road recruiting, and I sent an email to Mike and just let him know that I was interested. And I had been an admirer of Cortland, as a competitor when I was at St. John Fisher, and then I was at Utica as the offensive coordinator at Utica University, and then became the head coach at Morrisville, and we were in the same league that Cortland was in. You look at not just the football part of SUNY Cortland, but just the athletic department in general. It just seemed like athletics was very important to the institution. Like, and then once I got the chance to interview and go through the process and see the campus, it's just a special place for athletes. It's a very athletic minded school. Some would say we're a jock school. I just think it's fun, and you walk, there's not many D3 schools when you walk in the dining hall and you just see like random kind of normals, non-athlete students, just regular students who attend school that wear football gear. They have Cortica Jug branded gear on, whatever it is. You don't see that. You guys went to Oswego. I don't know if you walk through the dining hall and see, just a non-athlete wearing athletic gear and repping the athletic teams. I know where I went at St. John Fisher, it wasn't like that unless it was like a girlfriend of a player or whatever. It was just, so I just wanted to be here because I just felt like they treat athletics. They do athletics in a very first class way. And Mike Ertz, our athletic director, he wants to make sure we have everything that we need to be successful. Mm-hmm. It's a great place to coach. And you look at our athletic department, it's not just football that has success. And I think this fall, every single one of our fall sports won our conference championship, and we're playing in the NCAA tournament. So, across the entire department, fall sports, winter sports, spring sports, our baseball team, lacrosse teams it's just a great athletic department. It's a fun place to be a coach and a student athlete.
The football team actually, that was the 26th national championship in SUNY Cortland history. I don't know that any SUNYs can really say that they've taken home 26 national championships. So they definitely take athletics very seriously at SUNY Cortland, no doubt.
Yeah, it's definitely attractive, and it's attractive to recruits too. We sell that, not just the success of football, but all sports. I think that says a lot to families, prospective student athletes and their families about what type of culture we have within athletics at Cortland.
How big of a role did you play in having the Cortica Jug being held in places like Yankee Stadium and MetLife Stadium downstate?
The MetLife game, I wasn't here for that. That was Coach
Okay.
Mack's last game as the head
Oh,
coach.
okay.
Yep, and then he retired after that. The Yankee Stadium game, I didn't have a real role in it, other than just kind of asking if I would be open to it, which obviously I was. But it was really, the way I understand it, the MetLife game was so successful. It was the highest attended Division III game of all time, 45,000 fans and change. That the New York Yankees were kind of the ones that approached the leadership about it, because it was a proven concept at that point. This is just the way I understand it. I may be wrong on some facts, but yeah. And then I think, the fact that we were in just coming out of COVID and everyone missed that year. And I think it was just trying to get some momentum back for the rivalry game and just athletics in general. So yeah, it came together really quickly, honestly. And I was all for it. And it was an unbelievable experience playing at Yankee Stadium. I can't speak to the MetLife game, but Yankee Stadium was awesome. And the New York Yankees were, I see you're wearing a Mets hat, so I'm sorry if I'm speaking out of turn here, but
it's okay.
The Yankees were awesome in the process. They're John Mosley, who is the head of football development for the Yankees. They have they bring a lot of games to Yankee Stadium. He actually called me this morning to congratulate me on the national title. So it's a very personable approach with the Yankees, and I would be very excited to go back there and take the game back there in a few years if that's what those decisions are above my head. But if that's what everyone wants to do, I think it would be great.
So you mentioned you went to St. John Fisher for college. What made that the top choice for you?
It was, I just liked I was down to Fisher, Brockport. It was my SUNY school option, and then Hamilton College, which I got into, which, my parents thought I was crazy for not wanting to go to an SCAC school when I got accepted into it. But Fisher, I just loved the coaching staff there, and they were a young football program at that time and weren't very good. But I just loved the coach that recruited me, Buddy Sims. He was a big old line coach, and just the way he talked, he had a Southern drawl. I just felt that was the best spot for me. And they had a young defensive coordinator who had brought a lot of energy to the program, named Blaise Fagiano, who's now the head coach at Utica University. And he's the one who brought me to Utica to be the offensive coordinator years later when I got into coaching. I just felt right at Fisher. And then we were the class that kind of built. So my freshman class at Fisher was the one that 4 years later, we went from the doormat of the Empire 8 Conference and Northeast football to being ranked in the top 10 and conference champs and NCAA tournament. So I was the quarterback of the team at Fisher that first won the conference championship and played in the NCAA tournament. It was we take a lot of pride in my teammates and I about being the class to go through the Fisher program and kind of set the stage and bring the program to prominence.
Sure. And you grew up in Fulton, so just a stone's throw from the SUNY Oswego campus. Graduated from G. Ray Bodley High School. How did playing football there help shape your career as a successful coach?
Football, I've always loved football. From the time I was a little kid playing in Pop Warner, and I was always the quarterback. And I love the chess match of football. And I probably didn't know I was destined to be a coach, but I think my parents I was like a coach on the field as a kid and going up through Pop Warner and in through. I love the cerebral part of football. I was probably better at other sports. I played three. I played football, basketball, baseball, and was probably better at other sports. But football, was because I wasn't always the fastest guy. But I could play quarterback and I could help make the people around me better and distribute the ball and all that stuff. And I just gravitated towards it. And then, yeah, I mean, playing at Fulton, it was, and my high school coach, Mike Connors, is on my staff now at Cortland. That's his like retirement gig, which is cool. Kind of brings it full circle for me.
Yeah.
But it was, the discipline of it, the process of it. Like I'm a very process oriented person. So, football is very, very routine, very kind of ritualistic, off season training and, in through summer workouts. And you got to work on all these different skills from all the different positional groups and then blend them together at one time, and be able to work as 11 guys working as one. And that just drew me to football. And, I'd say once I got into college and playing college football at Fisher, and then, I was a backup quarterback for a while and grew into a starting role there at the end, winning a conference championship, and just seeing my college coaches and like, you can do this for a living. You don't have to teach. You can just coach football and that's your job. Like that was great. I graduated. I graduated with a degree in business, and I worked for HSBC Bank as a financial advisor for a year. You guys remember HSBC? My players, when I say that, they don't know HSBC anymore. But
I remember Marine Midland. I mean,
Marine Midland.
There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I worked for HSBC for a year and just hated it. Just hated it. I was drawing football plays at my desk every day. Despised it. So after a year, I quit and I got a job back at Fisher. They had an opening, like an entry level, making basically no money, like a GA type spot. And I just said, I'm just going to try to do what makes me happy, and went into it and fell in love with it and been working at it ever since.
Well, Coach, we just have a couple more questions.
Sure.
So you mentioned your assistant coach, Mike Connors, who was your head coach when you played quarterback at Fulton High School, or G. Ray Bodley. He was also a longtime wrestling coach at G. Ray Bodley, even an assistant wrestling coach at SUNY Oswego as well. He was also, I believe, athletic director at Oswego High School. So what does it mean to have your former head coach on the sideline with you as you went on to win a national championship?
It's special. It really is.
Yeah.
It's cool. I hear him coach the players, and I think he has fun because he can just coach football. He doesn't have to worry about some of the stuff as a head coach isn't very much fun to do, but some of the paperwork and all the other stuff, he has fun. So I like it that he likes it, like I love just seeing him coach and him enjoy it. I think, in some small way that's, me giving back and saying thanks to him for him making football enjoyable for me. But it's just cool. It's I hear some of the one-liners that he gives to the players, and I just chuckle, that to hear some of the stuff he says. But it's very rewarding. And he's a good coach too. So, it's not just a sentimental thing. Like he really helps our team and helps our players. And he coaches works with our defensive tackles, defensive linemen, and does a great job. So, it's cool to have him around. It's fun to have him around for me, but it's also good for our program because I think he makes us better.
And in yet another full circle moment, the G. Ray Bodley High School recently changed their mascot to the Red Dragons.
I saw that.
So,
I did not have any, I will say publicly on this podcast, I did not have any sway over the voting or anything. Nothing.
Stuff the ballot box. Does Coach Connors ever is he like a father figure to you to a certain extent? Does he ever come to you and be like, that's not how we used to do it when I was your coach type thing?
No, he does not. He does not. He knows that college football and high school football are totally different animals. He does give advice. He does, and I take it often. But he does give advice. But he knows, he does it in the right way too. He knows that that I've been doing this long enough to kind of know what I'm doing. But I'm glad he's around too, because he's not afraid. Like some of the other guys sometimes, sometimes assistant coaches are afraid to give their
Mhm.
opinion to the head coach. He's not afraid to give his opinion to me. So I appreciate that, because sometimes, he might say something that someone else wouldn't have. And if it adds value or it makes me rethink something, then it's probably worth saying. So he does bring some, the other guys kind of bust his chops sometimes too, because they know that, he'll say it even when they can see that I'm kind of pissed off about something. He'll still interject and they'll bust his chops about that. But yeah, overall it's a great, it's a great thing. And I hope he wants to come back again next year. So he's not too old. He's not too old where he's going to stop doing, being fully retired. He needs to keep.
So obviously, right, we discussed that you grew up in Fulton. You have a couple of Fulton guys on your team. And obviously we all know that Oswego doesn't have a football team. Do you recruit up in that area whenever possible? Like, do you ever like really look up there in the Oswego Fulton area
Yeah.
or in surrounding? Just see if,
Yep.
if here are some good players. I'm sure you have some spies up there from your old days.
I have a lot of guys planted that can tell me who's who can play. Yeah, I do recruit up there. And we have a freshman on our team this year, Sam Cotton, who's a Fulton kid, G-Ray Bodley. I've known Sam. We're like family through marriage almost. His family and my family are connected through marriage. And I've known him since he was a kid. I remember him doing backflips off my parents' diving board when he was 2 years old. So I knew he was athletic since way back in the day. So we recruited him, and he's a safety for us and started as a true freshman. And he got injured in our game against Brockport, our 9th game of the season. So he missed the Cortico Jug game and the playoff run. But he was the Empire 8 Rookie of the Year. So all across the entire conference, Rookie of the Year. And he's a great kid, very great student, and one heck of a football player. So yeah, and I love having Fulton guys around. That I know the kind of value. I knew what kind of values he had. The way he grew up and the way he was raised, and so. And I knew he was a stud athlete too. That doesn't hurt. But yeah, we do have a few Fulton guys, and I do recruit in Oswego County. We were on an Oswego kid too. Oswego High School doesn't have a super strong program, but there's some athletic kids in the city. So in the city of Oswego. So yeah, we recruit up there. Central Square too. Mexico had a kid we recruited a couple of years ago. Yeah.
You have a few guys from Kevin and I's hometown of Staten Island too.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yeah. There's definitely some athletes in Staten Island. That I know for sure.
Absolutely. Coach, now that the season has wrapped up, what was your message to the team as they gathered maybe for that one final time before, calling it a season?
Yeah, it was it's kind of a unique end to a season, obviously. Typically, I was talking about this today with my assistant coaches in the office. Like, typically when a season ends, you end on a loss or you end on a win, but don't make the postseason, and you schedule a team meeting, a couple of days later, and you kind of wrap things up, team meeting, rah, and go. Well, we played so long that like our semester was over. Finals had already ended. Guys were doing finals in the hotel last week, getting ready for the Stag Bowl, finishing up. So I knew that when we got home, like this team, we call ourselves Team 118, the 118th team in the history of Cortland football. We were never going to be in the same room again. Guys were going to be gone home for Christmas break and all that stuff. So we had a moment in the locker room. It's something I'll never forget, and I hope our players don't forget it either. We had a moment in the locker room down in Salem. We had finished celebrating, and everyone was off the field. And I go in the locker room, and what took forever, we went to media. We did Zach and I and Cole Burgess and Jaden Martinez. We were all we were gone for like 45 minutes to do press conference. We come back and I walk in the locker room and every single player is still in the locker room. Not one player had gotten on the bus. Every player was in the locker room, including the players that just showed up the day of the game that weren't dressing for the game. Every player was there. And the captains were talking and they were hooting and hollering. And I walk in and they were I addressed the team and just let them know how proud I was of them. And then, there was a realization of everybody that like, this is going to be it. Like, we'll all be together at our banquet in a couple months when we celebrate the season, but this was going to be the last time that we were all in the room together. So, we just made sure we got one last team breakdown. We have a special breakdown that we do and acknowledge that it was going to be the last time we did it. And it was like the kids, you could see there, it was a cool moment because we had just accomplished we were at the pinnacle of Division III football. And then, but it's not, that team's never going to be, you're never going to be able to recreate that exact same feel. You might win another national title years down the road, maybe next year, but it'll never be the exact same group of guys. And it was that chemistry of those guys that helped make this team so good. And so it was kind of a bittersweet moment to break it all down, but we did. And then, all hell broke loose in the hotel, I think later at night, but it was, that was our team moment, kind of the last thing. And we got to figure out a different way to get them the information for next semester, because we didn't have the typical meeting schedule we'd normally have, but it's all obviously for a great reason.
Obviously.
That's awesome.
Well, Coach, again, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us, and congratulations again on taking home that national championship.
I thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys having me on. Hopefully I, did a good enough job to fill your podcast.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And, anything I can do to help in the future. Hopefully we can talk about another national title at some point down the road.
Right.
So
this time
That'd be
next
great.
year.
Look, we don't have a football team, obviously, right? Like I said, and so we're happy to root for Cortland. The only team I won't root for is Plattsburgh. That's the only team I won't root for.
Okay. Yeah. Oswego men's basketball, though, you guys got to be talking about them a ton. Coach Leone does an outstanding job. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been talking to Coach Leone a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. He's a good one. They got a good Jeremiah Sparks, outstanding football player too. I tried to recruit him out of high school as a football player.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was in all Central New York. He's a very good football player.
Interesting.
It's a small world.
It's all connected somehow.
Yeah. Well, Coach, thanks again, and we will keep in touch. And once again, congratulations.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Congrats.
Take care.
And that was Curt Fitzpatrick, the head coach of the national champion SUNY Cortland football team. What a spectacular run by the Red Dragons. Their first Stag Bowl appearance, and they really sealed the deal. And on their way there, right, their last 4 games of the postseason, they beat undefeated teams each and every time on the way to the national title. I did write a little bit about that in our most recent blog, which you can check out on our website, throwingbagels.com. But still, just a tremendous season. And like Coach Fitzpatrick said, this is 1 in a million. Like, you'll never see a team like this again.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Our thing in Oswego is hockey, right? We won that one championship, and we've been chasing another one since. But we we live off that one championship, right? So, hey, they may be able to do it again. Who knows? You never know. Anything's possible, right? They, like what they said, they have a strong core coming back to that team. But football is a game of, you never know what's going to happen. Unfortunately, because there's injuries. There's so many things that can happen in a season that can derail your championship hopes.
Right. It's an absolute tightrope walk every time. When Oswego State won the national hockey title in 2007, they they won the national title game in overtime. And I think at least 1 or 2 other games in the postseason were decided in overtime as well. So one bounce doesn't go your way, and you're not national champions. So that's pretty much the same with any sport.
But you know what? They can't take this one away.
Nope.
They can't take it away. That's the sweetest thing. That's the sweetest part of it.
Absolutely.
Right. And like I said, I'm happy to root for them. We don't have a football team, so it's not like we have to worry about playing them ever, right? So happy to root for them. I just won't root for Plattsburgh.
So are we making this official? So we are adopting SUNY Cortland as our football team on the Throwing Bagels podcast?
Yeah, I think we've had, Portland alum Alex Russo on the podcast a couple times. So I think we've adopted Cortland as our second favorites.
Okay. Yeah. But I mean, we're not going to obviously, hey, if they have a pretty strong. Generally, they've had a pretty strong baseball team, pretty strong basketball program there as well.
And
And
soccer.
soccer, yeah, and soccer. Okay,
Lacrosse,
I don't know much about their soccer, but I just remember when we were in school, they were very good in basketball and baseball. And right now, obviously, Oswego is very good at basketball, and we've been very good in baseball the last few years as well.
Mhm.
So I think both teams have been like on collision courses, especially in baseball, if I remember correctly.
Right.
So I'm happy to root for them. Maybe not in hockey, but we'll see.
All right. I think that'll do it for this special edition of the Throwing Bagels podcast. You can check us out online. You can check out, again, a blog about the national title game on our website, throwingbagels.com. And we will see you next week. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.